my favorite. Can you turn off your sound?
Okay.
Can you come more this way? Hi guys, thank you for joining.
Okay.
Hi guys, thank you for joining. This is Essence of History, and today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, animals. We're going to talk about the history of pets.
And I think you told me it's a pet.
Today's International Pet Day, according to Google.
Well, the word petting, it was as somebody who is not born here and is new to, is not native speaker, was a very interesting word for me. Petting, not just having a pet, but as well petting, meaning that they just cuddling with the pet and
Caressing your pet.
caressing your pet and touching your pet, especially a cat and so on.
Mhm.
And then they start purring and so on.
Yeah.
That gives such a peace of mind almost across the board.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before, but there's studies, it's a little bit woo woo, but there's studies that say that cats purring frequency is
Mhm.
actually a healing frequency. And that's why when
Mhm.
cats get injured, they purr to heal themselves.
Hmm. And I haven't heard about that, but I'm sure there are some good information regarding that out there. But what I have noticed is that this is a fact. Pet owners, especially dog owners, they have longer life expectancy. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, we've talked about that before, that maybe it's theorized that dog owners live longer because they're a little bit more social because of walking their dog, and simply because
Yeah,
walking your dog is good for you, taking a walk.
and we know all about it. We are in Smart Spine. We keep elderly people walking, and we know when elderly people quit walking, doesn't matter for what reason, the life expectancy drops down dramatically. And I think this constant that I mean, most of people who have a dog are reasonable pet owners and they walk their dogs,
Mhm.
and then that is not like they are doing the dog a favor, but as well they are doing themselves a huge favor.
Yeah, but sometimes when I walk my dog, she doesn't want to go on a walk, and I feel like I should give her the opportunity to go on a walk. Maybe she'll change her mind once we're out there. And I can tell she's doing it as a favor to me.
No
Because
kidding.
no, I can tell.
You're
Because
you're
as we're walking, she keeps looking at me like, and then she tricks me because she has these routes that she kind of has in her mind. She'll take me on a certain route and then cross the street and start walking back home because she feels like, okay, my mom wants to go on a walk, fine, but I want to get back inside.
well, that's a very different dog, anyways. Lily is not a
She's really special to
yeah,
me.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure she is. Um, but generally, we know that we have built this relationship to pets. And I'm not talking about exotic pet. That certainly we humans started having creating some emotional connection to our dogs and cats and so on. And some people, they think they can build it to any animal. Like that is actually exactly the difference between a dog and a wolf. A wolf, a truly wolf, even though they're different, their genetic composition is less than 0.5%. A, a wolf cannot read human emotion, doesn't respond to human emotion, and a dog does it more than a 7-year-old child.
Yeah, but I think people are starting to learn that if a wolf is born into captivity, then they're more likely to be able to respond to human emotion
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
in the wild.
Well, all the literature I have looked at, let's say you take a wolf cub from the birth,
Mhm.
you let it grow up with human, and they're still not able at the level of a dog
Not at the level of a dog, no.
respond to human emotion. As a matter of fact, they did a one study that it was unbelievable. They did it in Siberia. Soviets did that. In that time they're selling this fur or the coat of fox. That was a for source of income. So they had in Siberia these farms that they would just grow
Hmm.
foxes.
Yeah, they have some here too, actually.
Yeah, they can just take their coat off and then skin off and sell it. And a Soviet scientist did a study that was amazing, actually. Um, every generation, he separated the most aggressive and most tame foxes.
Hmm.
Dogs are wolf. Dogs are
Yeah.
100% wolves from wolves. Okay, the genetic and so on is all done. No, no, like, but if we have coyotes, we have foxes, we have lots of other animals. None of them has been domesticated. Now, this one, he separated them based on, when you go to their cage, do they come to you or do they go to the corner, start, showing you their teeth and
Burying
so
their
on.
teeth.
Yeah, and so they separate them generation after generation. Interesting thing is that after 50 generation, that's not much at all.
No.
They had foxes that they behave almost like dogs. But more importantly, in those fox that behave like dogs, they start having these genetic traits that are more like dog, like variation
Like
in the
floppy
floppy
ears.
ears or different coloration. And more importantly, is something that we have observed in most of our animal that we have as pet. There's a term for that, scientific term for that, but we call it they keep their childish face, like big
The
eyes.
puppy face.
Yeah, the puppy face, big eyes, and so on. So, and then most importantly is that this genetic variation start being a major a feature of this, like these floppy ears that in the nature in the wild would be they cannot hear better, as well as with the ears that they can direct, and then especially this different kind of tails, this unified appearance that we always say fox, they always look the same to me. That did go away like dogs.
Hmm.
Now let me tell you something about the dogs. If the human were had the same variation like dogs, like just one variation, the size.
Yeah, I remember
If the
you saying.
human has the same variation in size like dogs, we should have human that are 4 inches tall, and that is what the variation that we have in dogs. And all of that came to bear that they didn't need to rely on the nature for survival. They rely on human for survival. Now tell me, who's pet?
Oh, I always say I am their pets for sure. They run my life. I actually miss them a lot right now
Yeah,
as we're talking about
yeah.
my animals.
Especially, I think your dog is definitely is your pet owner.
Yeah,
You
and my
don't.
cats.
Yeah. Now, but there's something obviously they give to us. I
Oh,
mean,
so much. Yeah.
and there is something I hear that just recently you qualified your dog as emotional support.
No,
uh,
I did that a long time ago actually.
oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
So
Lily's an emotional support animal. I actually had my therapist write me a letter for that.
how does she support you emotionally?
Don't even like are you being serious when
No,
you
well,
ask?
we are doing the podcast. I
Okay.
wanna.
Lily supports me emotionally a lot. Every time I'm sad, I just think about Lily.
So, and originally, obviously, most of animals we have in our life, they have a function for us.
Yep.
I can,
Hunting,
yeah,
protection.
you can imagine about 40,000 years ago, or maybe some people say maybe 20,000 years ago, when we start um, having dogs, they were not our emotional animals.
No, actually, a lot of people like a lot of non-Americans still think it's weird to have your pets inside.
Yeah.
When one of my closest friends, Anna, I think I might have even said this
Mm.
before, when she was growing up, she came here from Ukraine when she was really little, but she still remembers living in Ukraine. So when she started living here and seeing friends here and stuff, she would wonder like, why do people let animals in their house? Why are you actually spending money to feed this animal and house this animal? She thought it was the weirdest thing, but now she has
Mhm.
3 cats.
Okay. But that's exactly the point. See, why do you spend money to feed them, right?
Not only to feed them, you people buy specific beds for their dog.
Yeah, but
Like,
but that is exactly the natural old way we have been um have gotten in some symbiosis with these animals. What is trash for us is food for them, and that is how actually it has been working. The working hypothesis is that about 40,000 years ago, humans start living in colonies.
mhm,
And obviously, our digestive system compared to all other animals is really not good. Lots of things that it's food for other animal is trash for us. So what do? We just throw them out. We throw them. We don't want them to smell them and so on. Even if we live in a cave, we are throwing them somewhere out.
yeah.
Now there is this group of wolves. For them, a piece of bone is perfectly good food.
Yeah, actually, you know what wolves do? They when they find a carcass or like a fresh carcass, what they do is they crack the bones so that they can get some of the marrow out, and then as it decays more, they can go back to it and get the rest of the marrow, but they crack it first so then they
Yeah.
can do that cycle.
Yeah, well, it's lots of things that is literally they can eat the hide of an
Hmm.
animal and so on, and the hooves and so on, everything.
They
So
love the hooves.
yeah, they eat everything. That's food for them. It's
Hmm.
flesh for us. So imagine we have a colony of human and colony of wolves. This colony of human, we had to have brain, they can hunt, and they have a lot of leftovers. Contrary, the colony of wolves, if they have an animal, it's gone. There's nothing really left. So leftover of human is still usable for those wolves. Human throw it not far away from their colony, from their uh, where they are living.
Hmm.
And now the wolves see human as a competitors, right? Because human would kill a wolf and eat them. That's what we would do. We weren't very selective. Now there are some wolves that are more scared of human, and there are some wolves that are less scared of human. Guess what? Who is going to go to that pile of bones
The less
and
scared,
hooves? The less
obviously.
scared,
Yeah,
obviously.
of course.
Now, guess what human discovered? When that more tame, less aggressive group of wolves are around their trash, they are actually guarding it against the more aggressive that would come and eat their children.
Mm, yeah, interesting.
So it was a co-symbiosis, I would say, um, um, evolution between less and generation after generation. Same thing in that study that was done in Siberia with the foxes. Every generation, the most aggressive would stay away from human. The most um, uh, I would say friendly or tame, they would be closer to human, but as well they would guard the trash they would get from human against the more aggressive ones.
Hmm.
Someday they noted that they're actually helping them. So in nature, a baby human is a good food for a wolf colony. Oh, as a matter of fact, a whole human is a good food for a
Totally.
group of wolf. And they noticed that they actually this group of, now I'm calling them dogs, they depend now on this human for their food source. So they would never let that human be killed because then there is no food. Does
Right.
that make sense now?
Yeah, of
And
course.
now and then started this 40,000 years history of coevolution with dogs. And then obviously we brought them closer and closer. And have you seen like how dogs actually protect the children? Have you noticed that? Then the children are in danger. Like Pepper, my dog, when my son was like 3, 4 years old, he was a dummy. He would just walk on the dog, just run, and and Pepper would go and just with the mouth or with the head would prevent him going on the dog alone.
Yeah.
I mean, how would he even know that? I mean, I have no idea. I mean, we just got her from like a
Rescue.
rescue, and then instantly and it just naturally knew should not let that kid go alone on a dock.
Well, because
How
first of
does
all,
that work?
dogs love their family so much, of
Mm,
course. But I think dogs have like a natural understanding of water
mhm.
because Lily, she's everyone knows Lily's a small dog. When I put Lily,
Lily
she's
is
never
actually a chimera of a rat and a, and a pig.
and she's perfect. But when I took Lily to the lake, I held her over the water, and this was her first time ever being in water. She naturally started swimming even before she got into the water.
Hmm.
So I think that dogs do kind of have an understanding of water and swimming and
But how does he
children.
know that this little kid is too little, that there's a danger there? That is the amazing
That
part.
is amazing. Something similar
Yeah.
happened to me when I was little. When I was swimming, I was having a hard time, and my mom had a hearing dog, and he came and like helped me out of the
Mm,
pool and stuff.
yeah. Now, and this coevolution happened over the last 10,000 years. Then it become really solidified. So, for but the domestication of cat happened actually much shorter. Dogs had been with us for a long time, and I think in every family you just notice that there is an emotional bond, as and it's a good proof that dogs actually can read your emotion and respond to it.
Yeah, I think that I read recently that dogs can smell your emotions through your hormones.
Hmm.
And that's why when you're sick, actually, when I'm sick, Lily knows that I'm sick before I know. Sometimes I'll be getting ready for work and like kind of feeling like shitty and or bad. And as I'm getting ready,
Language.
I'm feeling worse and worse. And I can tell that Lily's acting differently.
Yeah. Um, what as well is important is that the ability of dogs to smell is unbelievable. They can smell cancer. They can smell,
Hmm.
obviously,
They can
when you
smell pregnancy.
and they can smell, obviously, explosive. I mean, you
They
have
have
seen those dogs in
dogs.
the they have seen those dogs in the airport, I'm sure, and drugs and so on. But
Dementia. Dogs are learning Parkinson's. They're learning more and more diseases that they can smell.
yeah, obviously the problem has been how do we communicate with them so they can give us that information,
Well,
and
so
that is there are new methods
yeah.
now to do that.
My mom's hearing dog, he was the smartest dog I've ever met. But when my mom got pregnant with me, he knew before her and he used to like alert my mom certain things. But once she got pregnant, he stopped jumping on her. And she was wondering like why is my dog not doing his duty? He's supposed to be doing this. And then later she found out she was pregnant.
Yeah, they can obviously the sense of smell is so refined.
Hmm. Or even the Minneapolis airport has an emotional support dog.
No.
Remember?
Yeah.
You can just go and pet the dog. It's there to
Mm,
calm people down.
yeah. And I think everybody understand inherently that the effect they have on human when you pet a dog or pet your and so on, a cat, that it really has a calming effect on us. That those studies are done.
It
These
does
are
lower your blood pressure.
many all the reduces all symptoms of stress, not only blood pressure but all of that. Now, this was the domestication of dogs, but let's talk a little about domestication of cats because that was a lot different. I mean, there is actually a really funny thing on YouTube and all social media. There is this guy had two friends. One of them behaved like dog, the other one behaved like cat, and then it says that and then how they behave and so on and so forth.
Like the dog is always happy to see him. The cat's like, "Oh, good, I was hungry. Finally, you're back."
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. See, um, like the dog obviously can understand words, like up to 500 words and so on. No, not only just the sound, but actual the
The meaning
meaning.
of the word and sentences too.
And like, have you seen that? There is a thing that the dog push on a
Oh
button
yeah.
and then a word comes out, and they can literally
You know the
communicate.
dog Bunny, who's like the main dog known for
Mm-hmm.
that, is on Prozac now
Wow, that I
because
didn't know
they
that.
like they were communicating with the
Not on
dog.
Ozempic.
No, they were communicating with the dog so much that they started realizing that the dog is like depressed.
Wow. Okay. Well, um,
And the dog would ask like, "Where's my friend? Can I go to my friend's house?" And
mm,
actually voicing its wants and needs.
wow. That is no. Obviously, we don't give them enough credit. I believe how much.
We don't
No,
give any animals enough credit, to be honest.
now Well, let's talk about the cat because then I want to talk about all the other pets. Okay,
Snakes,
we'll talk. Yeah, we will
tarantulas.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Now, cats has a different kind of. They domesticated us. I would say that's exactly what I mean.
I was gonna say the theory is that they domesticated us. Like
Yeah,
they chose, they're like, yeah, you're
but,
my own,
but
I'm your owner.
well, you work for me now.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea there is like when I was a child, there were cats everywhere in the house, outside of the house. But those cats you cannot touch.
They're
If you would
feral.
touch, they would take. No, they're not feral.
That's what,
They're. I mean, in my village in Iran, that's what I'm talking about. They are
yeah.
not feral cats. They are cats that are in the house. They live in our village and so on. But if you try to touch them, they would take your skin off. Now, why would we tolerate such a vicious animal inside of the
Because
house?
they're so cute and because you have toxoplasmosis.
Now that we talked about, okay?
Yeah.
No, but there is actually more reason
And
for
because
that.
they're eating the mice and the bugs.
Now, see, about I don't know exactly one, but long time ago, cats lost their taste for sweet. So, like anything that's food for us is not food for them, like sugar, grain, corn, bread, all of that
Unless you're my cat.
it is nothing to them. Yeah, to your cats and dogs are different altogether.
Totally.
Yeah, but generally, everybody who has a cat, they eat meat. Meat
Yeah.
is all what they eat.
They're pretty much carnivores, aren't they?
Yeah, and what is their favorite meat? Is a fresh, live meat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you seen, like, we have the cat, the sweetest cat ever. One day we saw that this cat is our killer. Cats are killer. It taking a little bunny and then doing this, and then just the fur of the bunny is just, and then before you know it, the belly of the bunny is open and start eating the liver of the thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right. Cats are killers. They've put cameras on cats. Cats don't even eat. Cats eat less than 50% of the animals that they kill.
They eat mostly the liver and the
No, no, but what
delicious
I'm
part of
saying
it.
is
Yeah.
sometimes they kill it and literally just kill it. They don't even eat the liver.
In
They're
some
killing for
islands,
fun.
when we brought the cats in, we made some other animal species go extinct
Oh,
actually.
even here in the United States, there's a lot of
Yeah,
birds that are extinct because of cats.
because of cats. Because of cats.
That's
So
why people do say you
cats are
shouldn't put your
killers.
yeah.
That's why I call your cat Psycho, because Jimmy is a psycho.
My
But
cat is not.
yes, but um, either way, so they don't eat sweet. There are no way they are going to eat our food, but they eat what eats our food
Mm-hmm.
and destroys our food, mice, rats, and so on and so forth,
And gives us diseases.
and possibly gives us diseases. So this symbiosis made actually completely sense.
But there's another benefit
Mhm.
of like the cats going outside and then getting dirty pretty much and then giving us less allergies.
It is true that, but when that started, we had no problem being outside. We
Yeah, but
lived
that's a
outside.
benefit right now.
No, but now it is. But when we started that, even 100 years ago, oh, you're outside and inside wasn't much of a difference.
Now people are keeping cats with their chickens
Mhm.
because then they believe that those chicken eggs will help you with cat allergies.
And egg allergies and so on and so forth. Yeah. But generally, we know that if you grew up with lots of animals, doesn't matter. If you live in a farm as a farm boy, you have much less allergies. So I think we are getting a little more protective in a wrong way with our
Hmm.
children. But that's a different
Yeah, totally
podcast.
different
We need to
topic.
talk
Yeah.
about that. But yeah, I mean, having pet actually, you have less allergies if you have pets. Now, in that sense, our relationship to the cats has been a different kind of relationship. And certainly, I think just in my lifetime, I just told you, if I would touch my cats in Iran where I grew up, they would take your skin off. Now the cats in Iran are like cats here. They even street cat. They let you pet and so on and so forth. It seems that this evolution is still happening and it's happening in our lifetime.
It,
It's not like a 1,000 years or 10,000 years event. It seems that the cats in Iran are so much more friendly
you're
than
yeah.
the cats where I grew up with.
Well, the evolution is happening in real time foxes actually are starting to domesticate themselves. They're getting closer and closer to humans and like coming close to the houses and actually like coming up to people's doors and being friendly.
And my favorite thing, raccoons are getting, but these are animals that are by nature social animals.
Yeah. But the
No.
theory that I've read is that scientists think that these animals are seeing us with our pets and seeing the
Mhm.
benefits that our pets are getting and kind of understanding that and trying to get it for themselves.
So let me tell you something though. For us to have this bond and the correlation, emotional correlation with those other animals, we need to have what we call mirror neurons, meaning that neurons, like a monkey does what monkey sees. Have
Hmm.
you heard that?
Yeah.
It's actually because when monkey sees another monkey do something, the same neuron in his brain activate, even if he doesn't do that, the same neuron that is actually making the other monkey do that thing.
Yeah, I just read a book about that. It's actually called The Wild, and it's about mirror neurons in wild
Hmm.
animals
Hmm.
and the way that we're learning empathy in animals. And that pretty much like you need mirror neurons to have empathy.
So what you need, what part of the brain has mirror neurons? Neocortex. Remember that neocortex. So if you have a tarantula, you are not the tarantula doesn't have the same emotional connection to you that you have to the tarantula. And if your snake, boa constrictor, python, is coming in the night, laying next to you, is not cuddling with you. It's checking to see
I
if
wouldn't be
you
so fast on
if you
that
feed
because
if you are going to fit
I wouldn't
in
be
her
so
mouth or
fast.
stomach.
I wouldn't be so fast. People have really good relationships with them and their snakes.
Well, I'm just telling you, to have this emotional connection, you have to have a good amount of neocortex to build this emotional connection.
Yeah.
And that emotional connection is mostly among mammals. So
And birds.
birds, birds are very emotional. Birds are much smarter than we give them credit, but they have been evolutionary much further than any other animal now. And they are actually, your parrots and so on. We know they can talk.
Crows,
Crows, they can talk. They have
the whole
they have
corvid family,
they have
ravens.
cultures and so on.
Yeah,
So
funerals.
yeah, so I think they might be as well have this emotional bond with
Yeah,
human,
they do.
but just biologically, I would be surprised if like pets other than birds and mammals could have that emotional. Now, always we can have better emotional bonds with mammals, or not all mammals, certain mammals, because our brain structure is more similar. It is just the nature
Yeah.
fact of nature and biology. So be nice to your dogs and cats because um, I think you're building a community with them. It's not just they are your possession and they are your property. But
Actually, it was explained to me one time that an okay, you're gonna have to stay with me for this one.
okay.
That an animal, a pet, like that lives with you is pretty much similar to an arm that you have or a leg. Like it's kind of like part of your body because any other living being, like your friends, your family, anyone, if they walked in on you in the bathroom naked, you would be like, "What are you doing?" and be so shocked. But when your animal comes in and you're in the bathroom naked, it's nothing. Like actually it's kind of normal. And so that's why she said, the person who said this, she was a scientist. She said that losing an animal is like losing a family member or someone really close to you or equal to losing a limb because it's something that's always there
Mm-hmm.
and when it's not there it's a huge something you really notice.
Well, they don't make a big deal. I mean, if my dog comes in and I'm taking a shower, it doesn't make a big deal of it. And it's this is the social norms that are. So well, imagine our pets are walking naked every day, all the time.
If
I
I
mean,
shut the bathroom door and my pets are outside, they will let me know that they wanted to be in there with me. I'll see some feet
yeah.
under the door.
uh, and it's just as well it's a good feeling when you go back home. You go back home not to empty house, but on the other side, that is the reason. I wish I would have more dogs and so on. But you have to take care of them. You
Yeah,
have to treat them like a living being, not like a property or a
Or a
inanimate
fashion.
inanimate object.
A lot of people, I'm happy you said that because this is one of my biggest pet peeves. A lot of people treat animals like a fashion object, like a bag. Like, oh, I have this designer,
$5,000 dog and so on.
but then your dog is in the house all day. What are you like? Why? Like, a lot of people have animals because of the status of having an
Yeah.
animal. Just like in Florida, I think Florida has like the most tigers
Hmm.
in the whole world.
Yeah. Tigers are not they're wild animals. You have to understand there is a reason we live for 40,000 years with dogs and 10,000 years with cats, but not with tigers. Because for tigers, we are food.
Yeah, people buy tigers or wild animals as a status pet, and then they don't even take care of it and then
Yeah,
let it out in the wild. There's a lot of boa constrictors in Florida because people
that's
buy
actually
them.
horrible.
Yeah, and then
Right
they
now.
destroy the environment.
Yeah. Now, um, uh, having said that, certainly, we have to take care of them, for them to be able to take care of us, and they're not a fashion kind of statement. And that's I like what you said. That what I think is one of the most horrible thing is that we have now created certain kind of race of
Yeah,
cats and dogs that these are like certain kind of dogs. They have absolute problem with
totally.
normal living.
Hmm.
we
French
made them
bulldogs.
we made them so they appeal to our sense of beauty or sensibility or something, but those kind of traits are really very, very unhealthy, and these animals, they generally suffer.
They do, like a Great Dane. When people have Great Danes,
They live so short
they live
as well.
6 years. Like, I
Yeah,
think, doesn't a Great Dane have the same size heart as a Golden Retriever?
I don't know.
They're not made like that. Like, that is not natural to be that size. And so then they do have really miserable lives, really bad joints, and then they have shorter lives. And that's hard on everyone. It's hard on the owner, and then it's obviously hard on the
And you
dog.
have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars
Hmm.
for a designer pet like that. Whereas I think this is what I always do. I always would go to an animal rescue,
Humane
or humane
Society.
society and so on, and especially like when we were in Texas, if you would go to an animal shelter, they would actually euthanize more than 90% of black cats
Yep.
because nobody wanted them,
And pit bulls.
or other kind of animals that nobody wanted them and so on.
I'm an advocate for, I actually really do believe that maybe, and it's never going to happen, but I wish that all people would stop breeding animals for 1 or 2 years and clean out the shelters because there's way too many animals in the shelters. And also, if you get a shelter dog or a shelter cat, it's going to have a better life, period, because it's a mutt.
Mm.
So it has the genetics that are like the stronger genetics versus if you're having like a designer breed,
Uh,
they're more likely to have genetic issues because they're bred within families.
Evolution, this co-evolution between human and pets was not based on their physical appearance. It was based on a cooperation.
Mhm.
Whereas now we have literally created, I would call them, monstrous features, like short legs and short, mouth and nose and so on.
Yeah.
That is extremely, like genetic defect practically that we consider beautiful. Like a,
Cute.
yeah, that's like a designer kind of pet creation, and I think I'm surprised that we haven't even forbidden it. That like, why do we create animals that are going to suffer? We know they're going to suffer. What is it that and I think the reason we haven't forbidden that is because of this kind of British kind of history that impregnated our culture of about this designer pets and so on. It was huge and still is. And we anything that is not within this culture of what we inherited from British.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there's different dogs for different reasons.
Hmm.
Like there's hunting dogs, which are very different from like a husky.
Yeah.
So I understand that part, and I know the history of small dogs is kind of weird because in like China, I know for sure, maybe in the like European countries, actually kings and queens would put small dogs inside of their sleeves and inside to keep their feet and their hands warm.
That's actually cute.
I know. I could do that with Lily.
Mm. Well, either way, I think we are happy to have our pets.
I as humans we're really lucky to have animals. I couldn't
Mm.
imagine my life without my pets. I've actually had a pet my entire life. I've never not had a pet.
Well, I'd say that I just did a TikTok. I said that Pepper is my favorite child.
I used to get in big fights with my mom about that.
Yeah.
Because my mom would come home from work and be
Mhm.
like, Ava, that was our dog. She'd be like, Ava, my baby, and give her so much love and cuddles and stuff. And I'd be sitting on the couch like, okay,
What were you sitting on the couch doing? Did you go and
waiting for love.
wag your tails and?
Yeah, maybe I should have put a shoe in my mouth and
Well, it was great having this conversation.
yeah, now I'm really excited to go home. Thanks for joining. Today we talked about the history of pets. I'm Amanda Armagoss.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence.
Have a good weekend. Can't wait to go see Lily and Shimmy and
Mm.
Shake.
Shake, shake it, shake it,
Shake
shake
off,
it,
shake off.
shake.